Okay, so I wanted to wanted to talk about Jonathan for a minute here. You know Saul's son Jonathan, so I wanted to talk about him for a minute. Um, and just see if we could just figure some things out about Jonathan. I always found Jonathan to be an interesting character. Um, okay, so I don't know why this is called Mephibosheth. Okay, so let's read a little bit about Jonathan. Just winging it here, see what the Britannica has to say about him, and go from there. Okay, so Jonathan, this is the eldest son of King Saul. His intrepidity and fidelity to his friend, the future King David, make him one of the most admired figures in the Bible. So Jonathan is first mentioned in 1 Samuel 13:2 when he defeated the garrison of the Philistines at Geba. Later, Jonathan and his armor bearer left Saul's army at Geba and captured the outpost at Michmash. The Israelites then attacked and defeated the Philistines. Okay, so this was around 1000 to 901 BCE, possibly because of his piety. Saul then ordered a fast for one day, but the absent Jonathan was unaware of the order and ate wild honey. Now, you see this parallel with John the Baptist here. So we know that John's food was wild honey. Okay, when Saul requested information about the war from God, there was no answer. Saul blamed the silence on Jonathan's breaking of the fast and would have killed him had not his own soldiers ransomed Jonathan. So when David became a member of Saul's household and won many victories against the Philistines, he and Jonathan became very close friends. After Saul's jealousy turned against David, Jonathan attempted to reconcile them, but he was only briefly successful. Saul tried to enlist Jonathan's aid to kill David, but Jonathan remained David's friend and warned him of Saul's anger so that David hid. So if you guys don't know where this is headed, okay, it says in the Bible that Jonathan's soul was knitted with David's soul. So just like Elijah and Elisha's souls were knitted together, just like John and Christ's souls were knitted together. Okay, so when the two met for the last time in the wilderness of Ziph, they planned that David would be the next king of Israel and Jonathan his minister. So Saul, Jonathan, and Jonathan's brothers were killed in a battle against the Philistines at Mount Gilboa. Despoiled and exposed by the Philistines, the bodies were rescued by men of Jabesh Gilead and buried in Jabesh. Years later, David reinterred the remains of the tomb of Kish in the land of Benjamin. David lamented the deaths of Saul and Jonathan in a moving eulogy. I'm sure that's wanting to say. Okay, so that's all they really have about him there. So let's go to Wikipedia, see what they have to say. So you see the Aten in the name Jonathan too. So the name means Yahweh has gifted. A prince of the United Kingdom of Israel. I did not know that. Okay, here's Prince Jonathan right here. Shooting 3 arrows to warn David. This is a Frederick Leoton, first Baron Leoton of Stratton, which you see the Aten in that as well. And Jonathan's token to David. This is so let's take a look at this picture here real quick. This is a very interesting shirt he has on here. So these arrows look red. His headband looks red. Okay, so that's the picture there. And okay, so see here's the thing here. This Saul could possibly be of Agrippa. Okay, so so this whole honey thing. So Saul's just going on, just cursing anybody, using his authority to bless and to curse, and he thinks, So Jonathan, he disagreed with the wisdom of it, as it requires, a good belly to pursue the enemy. So the story of David and Jonathan is introduced in chapter 18, where it says Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. The feeling is expressed before the men exchanged a single word. Some scholars have proposed. You see, now this is really funny because David is a type of Christ and Jonathan is a type of John the Baptist. Both, it doesn't really say much in the Bible, but it's kind of like, okay, John knew Christ as soon as he came. As soon as he came onto the scene, it was like, behold, there's the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world. Didn't say much, but that, like he already knew him before they exchanged single words. So this is like a bromance, I guess. It's just a loving friendship, a type of love that is still prevalent among soldiers on the battlefield today. It's camaraderie. So Saul suspects that Jonathan is colluding with David, who he believes is conspiring to overthrow him. So when you sit at the top, paranoia is, paranoia takes hold on you when you want to keep hold on that power. So Saul insults Jonathan, calling him the son of a perverse and rebellious woman. So Saul's cursing his own son and his birth. So Saul even goes as far as to attempt to kill Jonathan by throwing a javelin at him during the fit of a paranoid rage. See what I said? When you're like this, you're paranoid. Okay? Before this event happened, all Jonathan did was ask, what did David do to him so that he would be put to death? David never wronged Saul. The last meeting between Jonathan and David would take place in the forest of Ziph at Horesh during Saul's pursuit of David. The two would make a covenant before the Lord before going their separate ways. You see how this still parallels Christ and John. You see how they they made a pact. Well, I should be baptizing you. Well, no, you should be baptized. No, well, let it be. And then guess what? Immediately, he was gone. John stayed his way. Christ went his way. The same thing. When John died, Christ returned back to where he was. So, this is a painting in 1642 by a follower of Rembrandt. Jonathan is depicted in a turban. So you see these turbans on these guys like Josephus and things like that. All this means is just a sign of royalty, enlightened. Somebody who has probably a bigger brain, bigger intelligence, brighter intelligence than the normal person. Jonathan had died at the battle of Mount Gilboa along with his father and brothers. His bones were buried first at Jabesh Gilead, but were later removed of those of his father and moved to Zelah. And Jonathan was the father of Mephibosheth, whom David showed special kindness for Jonathan's sake. So, saying here, Jonathan is just a model of loyalty, truth, and friendship. So the Roman Catholic Church celebrates his feast day on December 29th. And see, as you see here, this Joyce Baldwin, she's saying here, when David said, "I'm the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite," okay, it suggests that indicates Jonathan recognized David as the future king, just like John recognized Christ as the Lamb of God. So this Ahinoam was the wife of Saul and also the wife of David. John Levinson, okay, and Baruch Halpern suggests that the phrase "to the shame of your mother's nakedness" suggests David's theft of Saul's wife. But such an event is never described in the Bible. Okay, so this person's wrote it unlikely. So yeah, that's another thing. So Jonathan denied his own throne, meaning his own this whole vain thing that comes with and this whole ego trip that comes with being, you know, just in a high position of authority, thinking you're untouchable, thinking that you're above everybody, knowing what power can do to your soul. Okay? So, like Jonathan, as did, Christ, denied his own throne to serve God. And he blessed somebody else's. You see, and Saul did the opposite. Saul embraced his throne and cursed somebody else's. Okay, and we'll just stop there. So there you go. Just wanted to check this out for 1 second here. No, I don't want to add. Okay, so let's just read real quick about this. The reinterment of Saul and Jonathan's bones in light of ancient Greek hero cult stories. Although the story of David and the Gibeonites has been analyzed in recent decades from various perspectives, the final verses, which describe how David transferred Saul and Jonathan's bones from their burial place in Jabesh Gilead to Zillah, remain obscure. I think that is. So this is not going to read. Not going to let me read this. So I guess I'm going to stop there. All right.